Okay, so now this shows from the other perspective of kennel person B, how she just eagerly, excitingly calls the dog out. What we do in the essence of saving time is because there are 3 exercise yards and we let each dog out individually, each kennel out individually. If there's 1 dog in that kennel, it goes out individually. If there's 2 dogs, it goes out individually. We would immediately let that dog out to go to the toilet. You put the dog in and make sure if you close the door afterwards. Next, she'll find the next kennel that's open and she'll let that dog out. Obviously, we let dogs out in the first section. So kennels 1 through 9 go into exercise, the first exercise yard, because that's the closest. So because that one's open, we'll keep going. And then the next kennel block, when she calls the dog outside, she will then collect that dog outside, and because the kennel yard is empty and available for this one, she'll immediately put that one out as well too. So again, down to the last section, the same thing. As walking along, she will let that dog out in the next kennel system as well too, ensuring that if there's any other dogs in this section, she calls them out so they're let out into the exercise yards as well too. So next, once all the dogs are let out on this side and there's 3 kennels out into the 3 exercise yards, we then proceed to move to the next side of the kennel. Coming through the middle, and then the next section that we do is we go back to A1 and proceed to do the exact same system on this side. So now we're going to start with the first animal. On A side, you generally start at A6 because the first 5 kennels are reserved for the doggy daycare dogs. So same routine on this side, call all the dogs out, and as you're going, put 3 out into the 3 individual exercise yards. Once that's completed, your next step is to go to the luxury. Ensure that you have the keys, go to the luxury buildings. The number 1 rule at the Maribyrnong Pet Resort is if you go through a gate, you must lock it behind you. This is to ensure the safety of all animals and make sure that there's no escapees. So ensure once you walk through a gate, you always lock it behind you. Next, we open up the luxury kennels. Very important to close this door, ensure that it is closed, and then we actually lock this one immediately afterwards, so there's no chance that a dog can open up that door and escape. So unfortunately, you do have to come through the front door. You unlock, come through the front door, and then immediately lock it straight away so we don't have any. This is very important because the front fence is only a cosmetic fence. Animals could potentially get through that fence if they tried, so you must ensure that this is locked at all times. We then check the luxury kennels that have dogs in them. You will then greet the dogs, you will meet them, you will let them outside through the back door. Unlock that door, that's how you'll get in and out for the rest of the day. Obviously, just double check that that gate is closed as it should be, because all gates should always be locked behind you. You're going to quickly let that dog out to go to the toilet. You will then inspect the luxury rooms and see if there's any urine or feces. You're going to do a quick check and a quick collection of that to ensure that the animal doesn't come back into a soiled kennel, but we will reserve the full cleaning of the luxuries till later on in the day when all the animals have been out for their rotations. So we let this one out first. We leave them out for a little break so that they can do their business. Then we go to the next luxury, unlock and then lock behind you. Ensure that door is secured. Then we proceed to the next luxury and do the same thing with this luxury, in that we let out one side to be able to do its toileting and clean up any significant soiled kennels. Outside, so obviously while they're outside, you're just inspecting the kennels to see if there's any soils. If not, then you can just leave it, because we are going to do a full clean later on in the day. Out of each luxury, you're going to carefully sneak out the gate to ensure that no dogs get out after you. You are then going to make sure you lock that gate behind you. Then we're going to return to the B side to complete the rest of our rotation. Walking up the passageway. Locking the door. And back to B side in order to complete the rest of the rotation of letting the animals go out. It's important to make sure that all the animals get out to go to the toilet first, as they have been holding their bladders all night. You return to the first kennel, you collect that dog on a lead and return it to its kennel, and ensure that the gates are locked behind. As you can see, Jess is wiggling the gate to make sure that it's closed, collecting the next animal in the line, and taking it out and putting it in the yard. Next, she'll leave this section, head to the second section, find the next animal in that section, return that dog to its original kennel. One point to add is that when the animal is out in the out in the exercise yards, we tend to just leave that door open slightly so you know which kennel to return that dog to make it easy to help ensure that they get back to their regular kennel. It returns. She then will find the next animal in the line to let out to the yard next, and proceeded to the next yard, which will be outlined in the diagram following this. 3 dogs in the rotation. We're going to return over to A side. We're going to give the dogs on B side just a couple minutes out to do their toileting. While they're out doing their toileting, we're going to return to A side and perform the same procedure on A side. That you'll collect all the animals from exercise yard 1, return it to the original kennel, which the door will likely be left slightly ajar. You'll find the next animal in that section that will go out into their exercise yard, and so on. We generally, with the luxuries, will rotate approximately half of the dogs in the regular kennel, and then at that time we'll return back to the luxury kennels to swap over, put the dogs that are out in the yards back in their original kennel, and do the same procedure and put the other side of the luxuries out into the exercise yards to do their business and collect any, clean any heavily soiled stuff while you're out there. It's a good opportunity while you're out there, in either the first or the second road, when you either let them in or bring them back in, to ensure that their water bowls are filled at that time. Side rotation, it's important for you to clean the soiled kennels as required. So when you let those 3 animals out, the idea is to let all 3 of the animals out. While you're letting that animal out, you're going to mentally note whether the kennel is soiled or not. If the kennel is perfectly clean with no mud, no feces, no excess hair or anything like that, then you can just leave it alone. It does not need any cleaning. We're going to pretend that this one has poop in it. If it's a nice hard formed poop, you're just going to pick it up with the pooper scooper. Remove the poop. Take it to the bucket. And if left that there's no debris or anything after that, you can just leave that kennel. If there is a sloppy poo, if there is urine, if there's mud, if there's excess hair, small amount of hair is fine, excess hair, you're going to collect the nearest hose. The hoses are to be left off every night, so you're going to obviously turn the handle on. and you're going to rinse out that kennel and give it a bit of a rinse to try to get all the excess dirt off of there. At this point, to keep the yards from getting dirty again, it's a really good opportunity to just give that kennel a quick squeegee, which we'll demonstrate later in the video. To give that a quick squeegee to remove any excess water from being trapped in there. If it is a very soiled kennel, we will return later on in the day to give it a thorough clean with soap and water. Once all rotating is done, you're going to move to the food prep room. Now, depending on kennel person A's workload for the day, they may have the food prepared for the luxury dogs. If it is, it'll be waiting on the freezer or the cupboard for you. If it's not, you're going to do the feedings of the luxuries. The first thing to do is to make sure there's no special diets. If there's no special diets or medications, then you just feed them standardly with our food as per our regular feeding requirements, which will be outlined in a future video. Priority is to get the luxury dogs fed and to do their pet space photos for the day. So we're going to bring their food out. This is an excellent opportunity while you've got food in your hand to get some great photos of them looking happy, so their owners can see some happy smiley faces. So we generally have the iPad all ready to go so that you have it and try your best. This is a bit of a practice art to just get some photos. You can take as many photos as you like. I would take a few and try to get the best photo that you can of them, at least not blurry, and preferably looking at the camera, but do the best that you can. Taking their photos, you don't need to upload it now, just take the photos. You're then going to give them both their food trick Jess. This is a great opportunity while they're eating and to give them a chance to finish their food, to collect the pooper scooper and just pooper scoop all the feces in the yard while you're waiting for them to finish their meals. Obviously, if there's dogs in both, you're going to feed the dogs in the first kennel and feed the dogs in the next kennel as well too. They finish their food, you're going to bring their bowls back to the food prep room for cleaning. If they haven't finished their food, it is fine to leave their bowls for an hour to give them some time to finish their meal for the day. We do not leave any food bowls in the kennel because otherwise the food just goes off for the day, and an hour is more than ample time for them to finish what they want. And if they're not hungry during that time, they don't need the rest of it. When you're bringing those food bowls over is an excellent time to bring the pooper scoops from the luxury yards over and empty it into the regular bins as well too, because it's important that those luxury stays be luxury for those dogs, and we don't want poop left in their yards.